and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Today we begin our rounding of decimals. We will round to the hundredths, the tenths, and anything in front of the decimal point. You've rounded to the tenths and anything in front of the decimal point already. So you know how to round. Mr. McMurdo is here just to put a little reminder in your head and maybe use a different way to say it than you've heard in the past. That maybe it will, boom, stick in there and you'll be like, I know that forever. So I put the same number up there 3 times. I'm going to round it 3 different ways. You are going to watch and learn. You're going to be able to see the video I made during the first class will be on your Google Classroom, no matter which class you're in. And then I'll get this one put on your Google Classroom fairly quickly too. First, I am going to round this to the nearest whole number. What? What do whole number mean? Is it like a donut and it has a 0 in the middle? No, come on. The whole number is anything without a part. Remember, the decimals are just parts. So when it says it rounds to the nearest whole number, that means you're rounding to what place value? The ones place. You've all rounded to the ones place before. You've all rounded to the ones place before. So I am rounding. My ones place is my number that I'm going to round to. And I'm going to look at the number in the, what place value? Tenths place. Man, you guys are so smart. So I'm going to look at the tenths place. And now you guys might have a little song, or you might have a little whatever you learned in the past. If it's 5 or more, you add 1. Now, most of the time most of the time I've seen kids that come up and they say, well, I just change that to a 9. It's not kind of the way I do it. And there's a reason I'll show you at the end. But you're going to add 1 or you're not going to add anything to it. And I'll show you the reason why here in a little bit, why I add 1. Okay? Now, 8 plus 1 is what? 9. And then everything behind it becomes a 0. I can leave it at 9. Because if I had $9, then I ran to my desk and I grabbed no dimes and I added no dimes to my $9, I still have 9. So I have none of these parts right here because I only want the whole number. Make pennies? Good. This one I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. All right, so someone help me out here. What number's in the tenths place?
5.
The 5. Good. This 5 is in the tenths place. So that's the number I'm going to either do something to or do nothing to. And I determine that by looking at the number behind it, which is in the what? Hundredths place. Now I just have to determine, is 2 5 or more? No. So I don't have to add anything to my 5. So we're just going to stay at 5. And since I'm not adding anything, I have nothing to carry. So then it's just going to be 8 5/10. I can put the zeros or I can leave the zeros off. It's the exact same answer. Doesn't change a thing. So I can add the zeros or I can leave them off because that's 5/10. And then I go to my bucket and I add 0 hundredths. So that doesn't change it. Then I go to my bucket and I add 0 thousandths. So that doesn't change it. Y'all with me so far? All right, good. Awesome. Good job. All right, and this one I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. And then I've got to ask again, class, what number's in the hundredths place?
Two.
The 2 is in the hundredths place. So that's the number I'm either going to change or I'm going to leave the same. I look behind it. So am I going to add 1 or add nothing to that 2? Add 1. And that becomes a 3. I have nothing to regroup. So that stays the same, and that stays as an 8. Why do you add 1? That's an excellent question. Let me explain why. Because let's say I have the number 7 and 976 thousandths. I'm rounding to the tenths place. So I look behind it. I've seen too many times when a student doesn't do the actual adding of 1 to it, that they make that a 0 and make it 7.0. I've seen that 1,286 times. But now I know I need to add 1 to it. Okay, and 9 plus 1 is what? 10. So I have to carry. Okay, that's why I always say I'm going to either add 1 to it or I'm going to add nothing to it. Okay, I'm either going to add 1 to it or I'm going to add nothing to it. And that's the reason I say that, because I've seen too many people make this 7.0. Because they're like, oh, 9 becomes a 10, just put a 0 and make it 7.0. You've done it. Admit it. Just say in your head, I know, I've done that. I'm so glad Mr. McMurdo explained it this way. He's so awesome. Boom, shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love you, do something kind today, save the bees, please.